You know someone who is always the funniest person in the room, always ready with a joke, always the one who lightens the mood when things get heavy. Everyone loves being around them. They make hard moments feel easier just by being there. And yet something about them, something you cannot quite name, makes you wonder if they are actually okay. You are probably right to wonder, because there is a specific type of person who learned very early that laughter is the safest thing they can offer the world. Not because they are naturally joyful, but because humor became the most reliable tool they had for managing pain that felt too big, too complicated, or too dangerous to show anyone directly. The laughing is real. The warmth is real. But underneath it, something else has been sitting quietly for a very long time, waiting for a moment that never quite feels safe enough to arrive. This is not a small thing, and it is far more common than most people realize. Think about the people in your life who are always on, always making everyone else feel good, always deflecting with a joke the moment a conversation starts moving somewhere real. Have you ever noticed that when you ask them how they are actually doing, something flickers across their face for just a second before the smile comes back? That flicker is the real answer. The smile is the habit. Psychologist James Pennebaker at the University of Texas spent decades studying how people manage emotional pain and what happens to the body and mind when feelings are consistently suppressed rather than expressed. His research found that chronic emotional concealment does not make pain disappear. It drives it inward. The body continues to carry the full weight of the unexpressed feeling, and over time that has real consequences on physical health, on mental clarity, on the quality of every relationship a person builds. The person laughing loudly at the party is not free of pain. They are carrying it in a way that has simply become invisible to everyone around them, and often to themselves. So where does this pattern begin? Because nobody is born deciding to hide behind humor. It gets built, slowly, in response to something specific. For most people who do this, there was a period, usually in childhood or adolescence, where showing pain did not go well. Maybe their emotions were dismissed. Maybe they were told they were too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. Maybe they grew up in an environment where things were genuinely hard, and being sad felt like it would make everything worse, so they learned to make people laugh instead, because laughter at least brought people closer rather than pushing them away. Maybe they watched someone they loved struggle and decided, without ever putting it into words, that they were not allowed to add to that weight. So they became the funny one, the light one, the one who makes everything okay. And here is the thing about that role. It works. People love you for it. You get warmth and connection and belonging through it, which means the behavior gets reinforced again and again until it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like your personality, like who you are. And eventually you genuinely cannot tell the difference between the humor that comes from real joy and the humor that comes from not knowing any other way to be in a room with people. Rod Martin, a psychologist at the University of Western Ontario who has spent his career studying the psychology of humor, identified an important distinction between what he calls affiliative humor, humor used to connect with others and create warmth, and self-defeating humor, humor used to manage personal distress by making yourself the joke, by laughing at your own pain before anyone else can respond to it seriously. His research found that people who rely heavily on self-defeating humor tend to score higher on measures of anxiety and depression, not because humor causes those things, but because the humor is often a signal that something underneath is not being addressed. The joke is the symptom. The pain is the thing beneath it. And this is the specific cruelty of this pattern. The very thing the person uses to connect with others is the same thing that keeps others from ever truly reaching them. Because when you are always funny, people stop expecting anything else from you. They stop asking the deeper questions. They stop pressing past the punchline. You become so good at redirecting conversations away from yourself that people eventually stop trying to take them there. And then you are surrounded by people who love the version of you that you perform and genuinely have no idea who you are underneath it. That is a very particular kind of loneliness, one that is almost impossible to explain. Because from the outside, it looks like you have everything: the friends, the laughter, the energy in the room. But from the inside, it can feel like living behind glass, close to everyone, truly reached by no one. Does that land somewhere specific for you? The reason this pattern is so hard to break is not lack of awareness. Most people who hide pain behind laughter know, on some level, that they are doing it. They have caught themselves deflecting. They have felt the joke arrive before the honest answer had a chance. They have ended a conversation feeling somehow lonelier than when it started, despite everyone laughing and everyone having a good time. The reason it is hard to break is fear. Fear of what happens when the humor stops. Fear of being seen as heavy, as difficult, as someone who needs something. Fear that the warmth people feel toward them is conditional on them continuing to be entertaining. Fear that if they put the joke down for a moment and say something real, the room will get quiet in a way that confirms everything they have always suspected about themselves. That fear is not irrational. It came from somewhere real. But it is also probably out of date. The environment that taught you that your pain was too much was a specific environment at a specific time with specific people who had their own limitations. It is not a universal truth about how people will respond to you. It is a lesson that made sense once, and that you have been carrying into every room you have entered since without stopping to check whether it still applies. What actually helps is not dramatic. It does not require you to suddenly become someone who talks about their feelings in every conversation. It starts much smaller than that. It starts with finding one person, just one, with whom you let the joke wait for a few seconds longer than usual, with whom you let the honest answer arrive before the redirect, with whom you practice saying something true and then sitting in the quiet that follows without immediately filling it with something lighter. That practice, as small as it sounds, is genuinely hard for people who have spent years perfecting the deflection. But it is also the only thing that creates the kind of connection that actually reaches the real person rather than just the performance. You deserve to be known, not just liked, not just appreciated for how you make other people feel. Actually known, with the full weight of whatever you are carrying included. The humor does not have to go away. It is part of you, and it is a gift. But it was never meant to be the whole of you. It was never meant to be the wall. You know someone who is always the funniest person in the room, and now you understand something important. The laughter was never the whole story. It was just the only part they knew how to show.